office is a long-used staple of media. No, not that one. It's come to represent the monotony of a life unlived and the soul-crushing status quo. However, recently, the office has grown. Again, not that one. What once was a blanket of beiges and off-whites that suffocated individuality is now being used to cover up dark deeds and broken realities. The office has become an Eldritch entity. Before we continue, I want to issue a spoiler warning for these shows and games, especially Severance, since it's still ongoing. I'd also like to clarify that I've never worked in an office. I'm a college student, and I'm solely looking at these of offices in media. This is a literary analysis. I'm not going into people's work to ask them how they feel about their job. The office of the past, and today mostly, have almost always represented unhappiness in life. The place where people go to get ground down in society's gears. Look at Fight Club, Office Space, the one where that happens, and many, many more. The office is a jail for the characters to break out of, to leave their sad old lives for the awesome adventures of the plot. But the way the office commands control of these protagonists is fascinating, and the key to its recent Eldritch nature. All of the office's strengths and weaknesses ironically come from the same place: separation. An office works through compartmentalization. In your cubicle, you are alone. The only solace you have are your coworkers and your boss. In this idealized office of media, again, this is just the office of the media, not real-life offices. I'm sure they're hopefully a little better, or at least different in some way, from media. No friends or family, and basically no workers above or below you, just the immediate connections. But that separation goes further. In the past, people and their work were closely tied together. I mean, originally, all work was just for survival. Hunters hunted and gatherers gathered. People began harvesting crops, and artisans were able to form. Now, things could be made to make life easier and expand the ability of the person. But the fruits of labor were still in the hands of those who made them. This all changed in the Industrial Revolution. The move to factories and assembly lines meant people were now making small parts towards massive and complex machines. One person alone could build a car, but not your average person. Instead, most people became mostly separated from their work. It was still specialized in a way, and it was obvious what was being done, but the workers were not in control. This march of progress reached its climax in the office and the computers it runs on. The complexity of our modern machines and economic systems make it impossible for anyone to own their work in an office. Every device used is beyond understanding for a layman, and for many people above laymen. The work itself is boiled down to clicking on a screen. So much can be done on that screen that when given footage of someone working on a computer, it's very difficult to tell what's actually being done, besides some notion of office work. The office separates its workers from the rest of their company, their friends, family, and the very work they do, leaving them on an island of obscurity. But recently, this cubicle island has taken on a much more sinister form. This new genre of office media doesn't just separate us from everything of before, but reality itself. The oldest example that I could find personally of this Eldritch style of office, a place that messes with our very fabric of reality, is the Stanley parable. This game is a
story of a man named Stanley.
He starts as many, a completely average office worker, but goes on many varied and wild adventures as the game unfolds. He finds mind control facilities, depressing apartments, that bucket, and more. It's a game where anything can happen, and most of the various endings are reality bending and breaking, and most of this is done through the office where the setting takes place. For being a large and varied story, almost all of it is located in this homogeneous, labyrinthian office building. However, the office, like many aspects of this game, is only a facade. Looking closer, you'll find desks that don't make sense to work at, chairs in weird places, and hallways that should not be possible. The office is as if it was only made to exist as a backdrop, and falls apart when you actually look at it. Now this is all purposeful, adding to the feeling of being trapped. The office is Stanley's entire existence. Beyond it, he is nothing. This is most obviously shown in one of the saddest endings, where his apartment and life are literally consumed by his desk and documents. This idea of an endless, all-encompassing office is also a major factor behind one of the biggest horror concepts of today, the back rooms. Its very inception was the horror of being separated from reality into a randomly generated office that has no real use, being stuck in a maze with no exit. But this time, there's no mundane computer work to keep you busy. I mean, look, these images are practically indistinguishable. If the creature there was British, they'd be the same story. I think the greatest example of this Eldritch office idea, and the reason I made this video, is the show Severance. Severance is an incredible show. You should go watch it. If you haven't watched it, you should stop this video and go watch it. I don't care what you do, if you have to buy Apple TV, or pirate it, or stalk a neighbor who has Apple TV, or stalk a neighbor who pirates it, or have your friends read the Wikipedia synopsis and then act it out for you in some weird theater. Man, just watch the show. Where was I after all of that? Severance is an incredible show, and it's truly dystopian in its world building. It follows the lives of those who have undergone the severance procedure, which splits people into their working innie and their non-working outie. I want to focus on the innies and their employer, Lumen. Severance is the office's power of separation cranked up to 11. The severance procedure literally seals part of you away in the fluorescent, painfully white maze of the severance floor for seemingly forever. There's no outside word, and no one beyond your coworkers and manager. Even their work has become peak separation. Their jobs as macro data refinement goes beyond any random Excel work and emails. Instead, they sort numbers by feel, which are then sent away to never be seen again? The show's still being made, so there's nothing else I can say about that. Legitimately, what the hell is going on here? All of this is wrapped up in an office that is as complicated as the Stanley parable in the backgrounds before it. A layout so insane, mapping it is strictly forbidden in-world, and when I tried to do that in the very opening scene of Season 2, I gave up faster than I'd like to admit. I'm fully convinced the seventh floor is Euclidically? That's not even a word. I'm fully convinced the seventh floor is geometrically impossible, and that's probably a part of what's going on in the show, and it's honestly par for the course at this point. And I can't even prove it because it's still being made. But on a larger scale, the entire company of Lumen is a perfect work of corporate horror. We see quite a lot of the severed floor, but the rest of the facility, the parts that people work at and then they can go home without having to have cutting-edge brain surgery, nothing. We get this insane foyer in an operating room, and that's all. The separation of the office is so vast that not even we, the viewer, get to know anything about this company. One more, albeit smaller and different example of this genre, comes from the 2018 show Counterpart. The main character, Howard Silk, spends his time at a strange office. Shocking, I know. Doing work that's confusing and seemingly nonsense? Shocking, I know. Where this changes is the reveal of what the office does. Unlike all the other media I've seen about the office horror genre, the Eldritch nature comes after the reveal. It turns out Howard's office is on one side of a universal gate, and on the other side sits a nearly identical universe and a very not identical Howard. This world-shattering discovery of a portal between universes should be shaking to the core, but instead, it's just another day at the office. Every floor above Howard is the same. People working on computers, doing strange data analysis, and working jobs they can't talk about in the outside world. In Counterpart, the horror doesn't come from the secrets hidden in the office, but the fact that the secrets have been consumed by the office. In this case, the bureaucracy of the office itself is the horror. This new genre of Eldritch office is one that I've seen very little of, but I would love to find more. Some other examples I've thought of are Brian David Gilbert's video, Earn $20K every month by being your own boss. And I would put something else here, but I could not think of anything. But maybe you can. Comment down below about any media you think fits in this genre, and let me know what you think about it. I'd love to hear more about it. I've loved everything I've seen of it so far, and they've all been just like immaculate in how they're made, and I really like it. Give me more. No. No! No! It found me! No! No!